What's happening, everybody? All right. So, what's up, big face trucker? We'll go through some people here. LVC. Looks like first in the building, right? First in the building. We'll go to PJ. What's up, PJ? My headset's still not working. Can't figure it out. Got something wrong here. I need to get a new headset, I guess. I've tried to get my other one hooked up, but for some reason it's not charging either. So I'm going to have to buy a whole new headset thing, I guess. Can y'all hear me? See if that's even working. So Dennis, what's going on? Jonathan Wheeler, what's happening? Justin Johnson, I ain't seen you in a long time. What's happening, man? Big Face, of course. I got a message. Let's see if I get a message from. All right, I'll put up here for guests if you want to join in. Don't know if I'll be able to hear you, but we'll try it. If not, I have to try to hook this other thing up, and then maybe if a guest comes on, they can talk while I find something else to plug into this computer port to see why we're not getting what we need to have happen here. Okay? Yes, I'm getting a bunch of static in my headset. And it's like it's reverbing back and forth, so we'll see. We'll add the Dean in here and see if I can even hear him. Dean, you there? Dean, you there?
What's going on, man? Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you.
Yo.
All right, so...
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yo, I'm here.
What's up, Cascade, Scorpion Trucker? Well, we got Big Face coming in. Look at this. Man, the big guy himself. What's up, Big Face?
You hear me?
Oh, yeah. You talking like you got a big Galaxy 88 with a kicker behind it. Looks like he's sleeping. Dean, doesn't Big Face look like he's chilling out over there? All right. Can you hear me, Dean?
He does. It looks like he's sleeping.
Yeah, he must have some technical difficulty. So the title of this was Going Broke Mentality.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. All right, so Going Broke Mentality. You know where I'm going to go with this? You have any clue, Dean?
I do.
You do have a clue where I'm going with this?
I do.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
I do.
Yeah, so the way I'm going with this is I was on another live feed last night on someone else's channel. And then I was reading some Facebook pages today. And they were talking about lease purchase programs and things like that, right? Because a lot of these guys on this channel were doing lease purchase. And on Facebook, though, there was a load coming out of California. It was $4,100, right? Coming back east. Now, it was 2,800 miles, $4,100. And they said, everybody on there said they wouldn't haul it. Too cheap, wouldn't haul it. Well, this driver sat 3 days. 3 days. And then saying, you know, he couldn't make his payments. And I wrote in there a big paragraph of why, business-wise, he should have took that load.
Where did it go, Jeff?
All right, do you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, okay. How's it going, man?
It's going.
I was in Tennessee. It was snowing up there, man. This morning I was up there.
Yeah. You should have come
Yeah, I
over.
don't like. Huh?
You should have came over.
Man, I should need to fly out and come see you, Jeff. Sit down, eat some pancakes.
Pancakes? We have steak. We ain't doing no pancakes. And
Man,
I will
I
make
don't. I
you.
don't eat.
Listen, Gordon.
I don't eat. I don't eat meat no more, man.
Okay. I will make you the best corn on the cob you've ever had.
Who else we got in here?
We
That guy
got the
looks familiar.
Dean, and we
The
got the
D.
Sandman. And the Sandman.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear you? Yes. But there's a
Yeah. I hear.
problem. There's a problem with deadheading, PJ. It depends how far you had a deadhead because that was coming out of California. You're pretty stuck if you're on the West Coast, unless you want to go up the West Coast. You could look at other places, right? I would say if you did 500 miles or 1,000 miles and still make more money, then you deadhead, of course. But to sit 3 days, that is not an option. Because
And
now
what was the load, Jeff?
it didn't. They didn't say. They just said it was $4,100 going 2,800 miles.
Mm.
So on the fourth day,
But
you're
he
delivered.
but he sat
right?
three.
Yeah, he sat
yeah,
3
fifth day.
days, and he's not going to get that much better money, right? He might have got a smaller one, but now he's got 5 or 6 days invested with hardly no money. And see, 5 or 6 days invested with hardly no money. What people don't understand is they get held up on this rate per mile, and they get held up on money, right? And how much money they should actually have to make. And there goes my headset. I'm gonna see if I can get this one working. You guys talk.
Yeah,
about
you're 40,
Yeah. We only. I figured they could.
4,400.
Go ahead.
That's still $880 over 5 days. You know, 880 a day. I mean, that's not the end of the world. I mean, that's gonna pay the majority of your expenses.
All right, so I didn't get to hear all that. It was all messed up in that
Well,
one.
44. You said it was 2,800 miles coming
Right.
out of California, right? So if you could make that run in 5 days, that's 880 a day.
Right.
So that's going to pay. I think that's going to cover cost on most people's expenses.
Right, exactly. And here's the mentality you have to look at. Do you want to run that load? Absolutely not. But it's
No, we don't
better,
want to.
It's a better option than just sit there for 3 days and do nothing.
Well, so here's the deal. So if you sat 3 days, that 5 becomes 8, and you make 550 a day.
Right. But not only that.
That's not gonna cover all your expenses. 550
but not
a day
only
is not
that.
gonna cover all your expenses.
If you find another load that paid a little bit more, now you have 10 to 12 days invested in that one run when you could have got to a better area and made more money.
Yeah, but
Because-
even if you got $5,000 to make the same run 3 days later, you're still only at 625.
Right.
You're $200 less, $250 less than what you were if you would have taken it on day one.
Well, you're even more than that less because those days that you're running that load, now you're in a better area doing better loads.
Correct.
Okay, but here's
Why would they run to a dead area anyway? I mean,
well, they're there. Okay, they ran there. They ran their big face. So now let's look at.
They're there.
They're there.
Oh, okay.
So is it a good choice to sit 3 or 4 days just to get that extra $800?
All right. Well,
No. Because you got to think of it like this. Let's think of it as a business thing, part of it, not by what it is per mile. Even if you lose money on that load, you're still making money for the business to to get to the better area. And here's
You're
what I
still
say about that.
You're still creating revenue, right? You're still creating a daily revenue.
But let's take
Right.
let's take a look at daily revenue. Even though if it's negative daily revenue, it's revenue, correct?
Right. Correct.
So let's take let's take a look at McDonald's.
That's the thing. Well,
Let's take a look at McDonald's.
So PJ made the comment that it's only $8.20 a day. So fine, it's only $8.20 a day.
Right.
But it's still $8.20 a day, and if you sit for 3 days, you turn a 5-day run into an 8-day run, and you're still losing revenue per day, and you can't make it back up.
Exactly. So for all these drivers out there that have this problem with the rates of today, and they're not going to haul it, it's too cheap, they're going to sit at home, or they're going to sit in California or down in Florida, and they sit there a week. Here's what they got to realize. Do you think Taco Bell or McDonald's, let's say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they don't make a profit, right? Their store is losing money, but they're open 24 hours. Why wouldn't they just shut the doors Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday then? They don't. Why? Because they're making money.
Right. They're making something, and it adds to the
something.
total at the end of the week. It adds to the
Bingo.
total at the end of the week.
Adds to the total.
And it's the difference. So they probably only actually make money on Friday and Saturday night.
And Sunday.
And Sunday, right? So you get your after church crew on Sunday. You got your Friday night and Saturday night people out doing their stuff in the world, and so that's when they actually make money. But if they aren't open and don't have any revenue from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday because they're losing money, now they can't even keep the doors open by working only Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Right, and they're
because
not
there's
profitable.
not enough revenue. Right,
Right,
they're not profitable on the
at the end of
entire
the
week.
They're not profitable
Right.
at the end of the week. To where if that guy takes that load, and I did the math on it, if he took that load, if he gets all the money, after the 4th day and he delivers, he was going to be at around, I think it was around $1,400 for fuel, $1,400 for his lease payment, right?
Yep.
28, so he had $1,300 left over. But if he was an 80-20, then you take 3,300 minus 28, he'd still make $500 to the good after his expenses. Right, you'd still make 500 and
But
still have a couple days to run in a better area.
Right, and so then he sat for 3 days, and then what do you end up 500 to 1,000 in the hole?
Well, no, yeah. So now he's in the hole,
And if he had just ran those 3 days, even at a loss,
he'd have
had a profit. He would have had some profit.
Well, he wouldn't even ran at a loss
He would break even.
because
He would have
he
broke even.
still would have made $500 even at an 80-20
Right.
split.
Gotta keep moving. Can't stand still.
Those wheels
No,
have to roll.
you
It
can
doesn't
never
matter. It's the mentality. You have to take all these people out here. They're talking about cheap freight, these rates, that rates, because it's messing drivers up and putting in their head that I can't run my truck for.
Exactly.
It's got to be $2 a mile. It's going to be $3 a mile.
And,
If
and
you're
the
it's
running
whole,
like
that
that-
mentality, you're going to go
And the
broke
whole-
because you're not
and the
running it
whole
like a
thing-
business.
just because they're new or whatever, I went through. Everybody goes through this. Everybody goes through that mentality. Like, I want to run a high rate, but don't get caught up in that, because that's what Jeff's trying to say. Don't get caught up in that. Keep it rolling, and it works. It definitely works. But mentally, you're going to be like, oh, I'm stuck on a $3 or $4 rate. Get that $2.50 and get out of there.
Come
You
on,
know.
this is social media, right, Big Face Trucker? What
Yeah.
they do is they talk like a Rambo warrior on the keyboard on Facebook and others. I only run for $5 a mile. I only do $4.
Right.
Tell them you're not going to take it. Sit on the dock. Just sit at
Right.
home. And those guys are running that load. They're the ones running the load.
Well, and Jeff, it's like my dad said. So, it told me many years ago. You got bills of $2,000 a month, and you get laid off from your job, right? So now you got zero income, but you got $2,000 worth of expenses. But you pick up a handy a handyman's job and you go mow somebody's lawn and you hustle a little bit of work from something else and you make 1,500. Now you're only short 500. If you sat in the house and didn't do anything, you're short $2,000.
Right. And that's how they go out of business. That's why they get negative settlements. Because they're sitting around. Just like Dean. He's just sitting around.
Yeah, Dean and I are both sitting today. But
Yeah,
I don't deliver till tomorrow.
And so is Big Face Trucker. He's out in his driveway in the sleeper.
Nah, I'm home, yeah. I'm home in the day.
Hey, don't let none of these three characters fool you guys. They're all in their driveways.
No. It's been I did all of that already, so I'm on a different level now. I'm not trying to work hard no more. So don't nobody try to follow me. But listen, listen to what I'm saying, But because don't do this. Don't do
Hey,
what
look,
I do.
I
got
gotta
a
come
different
in.
plan.
Now I gotta give credit to Dean, okay? Because what all these guys complain about, saying you can't make it with a high truck payment, Dean has high expenses. He's got a high truck payment, trailer payment, house payment, car, all that. Wouldn't you agree, Sam, man? He's got a high.
Well, yeah, he's got two girls with an ex-wife. He's got a house and a car that he's making payments on. He's got a brand spanking new truck and basically a brand new trailer. And what is he doing? He's out there running, right? And he's making it work. Now,
And he's home a lot because you can see his $1 million house.
Is this public news? Is that public news?
Well,
he's got a $1 million house. Did you see that ceiling? It's wood.
Oh yeah, I mean the ceiling in there has got to be at least $300,000.
They just made it public.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me take that back. Wait, I forgot to hit the dump button. Here.
Hey, listen. That was $5, man. That was $5.
All right, hold on. I should have did this. When Sandman said that, I should have did this. That would have drowned him right out. That's gonna be my new dump button.
There you go. No, and it's no different. I'm a single income family. I got 6 kids that I'm supporting, a wife, a house, car, and I'm making it work. I'm making it work. Look,
Dude,
am I working more? Am I driving more miles?
Sam, man, I give you kudos too. You're supporting a basketball team with reserves.
Yeah, I am. I got one coming off the bench.
Dude, you can play 3-on-3 and still have substitutes.
Somebody fouled out. He's got somebody to come in. I tell you.
He almost could fill a whole baseball diamond.
Well, and when I run out of breath because I can't run anymore, then I got somebody to come off the bench.
The other coach. Oh man, I hear you.
And look at Dean. He's got his Louis Vuitton bag and not a hair out of place, man. Not a hair out of place.
Never.
What's up?
Hey, you got your green tea frappuccino today?
He did. He did get his green tea frappuccino.
This is brutal.
Wait a minute.
This is brutal.
He told me he didn't drink that anymore. He was strictly water.
Oh, he went there today. He went there today.
Oh, cat's out of the bag.
Why Dean is always getting roasted?
Let's talk about
No.
for it.
No. Hey.
Oh, he roasted Dean, man.
Hey, thank you.
He got the right name though, the Dean.
I went and got a
Yeah,
caramel
you're right.
macchiato
You're right,
today.
big face.
I went and got a caramel macchiato today.
Caramel macchiato, $6.29.
He was in Indiana, and he said it was cheaper in Indiana for his caramel macchiato than it was in Missouri. He's like, dang, this is cheaper in
That's what it
Indiana
was,
than Missouri.
$6.37.
And it's cheaper in Indiana than it is in California when he goes out there.
Yeah.
James Coker, my friend, keep rolling. The dollar in my pocket today is more important than the dollar tomorrow because tomorrow may not come. That's a true statement.
Well, that's true too. And look. I mean, you gotta put in.
That's
You
right.
gotta do the drill. I have spent $28,500 in maintenance keeping the emissions alive in this truck over the last 4 months.
Wow.
Right?
Pigtails are coming old school. You can tell Pigtails got some age to him. One bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. That's old time.
There you
I
go.
never heard of that. That's before my time.
Yeah.
How much is that coffee per gallon, Dean?
Are you saying?
Get the spreadsheet. Get the spreadsheet out.
Benefits?
Get your spreadsheet out.
I know.
We need to know how much the coffee is per gallon.
Did you get a 16 ounce or a 24 ounce? Dean?
Dean ain't having it.
How much?
You're not gonna mess with me no more. That's what Dean
No, I
said.
think it was probably like 12.
It was a 16.
12,
it was a
maybe.
16.
It was 16?
Yeah.
So 128.
He's trying to skew the number.
So eight of those cups.
Yes.
How much was it? How much was it, Dean? $5? How much was that?
Hold on.
Frappuccino thing, or latte, what do you call that?
The fancy
He's
day.
having headset issues. It was 637 or whatever you said there.
Oh, we'll call it $48 a gallon. It's 8 of those cups in a gallon. Hey, big face. Dean's spending $50 a gallon on coffee.
It's expensive. That's what It's expensive.
Shoot. Wow. That's a lot.
When you think about it like that, it is a lot.
Yeah, but he's up all the time. You know what I'm saying? He's making all that money all the time off that coffee. He's not
I know
sleeping.
he does. Okay, Dean. For your birthday, I'm going to send you a Starbucks gift card.
You gonna give me the full? You gonna give me the full price, or is it gonna be half price?
I'll give you the full price gift card, not no half price. I won't even give you one that's been already used. So, Big Face, how you been doing?
Man, I've been doing great. I mean, I've been doing great. I don't even go off the load board no more.
You look great. Man, you look relaxed, chilled out.
Yeah. Hey, you're not gonna do me like Dean. Nah, but I've been doing great, man. I need another truck. I can't hire drivers. Drivers don't want to work, so it is what it is.
We won't talk about your skills at the range. We'll leave that amongst you in the shooting range.
Yeah, I'm not that good at shooting, man. I was good when I was in the military, but now, nah.
It's our eyesight.
Yeah, either that or the moonshine. I don't know. Joking.
DJ Bolin always has something to say to you, Dean. So I'll put it up there so you can read it.
Joking. Trust me.
DJ Bolin always has something to say to you, Dean. So I'll put it up there so you can read it.
Man, don't need to leave the team alone, man.
Somebody's got some reverb coming back through.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to leave the Dean alone.
But
We got to keep him here. He's
I
a
stay right
spreadsheet.
here. I stay right here in Atlanta and do what I got to do. I go out maybe 200 miles and I come right back. And I've been just going by the days thing, and pretty soon I'm sat down with some big people and got a nice good connect.
That's good.
So, and it's till the sun burn out. So, I just want to hire some drivers. I hired like 4 drivers already, and I'm always getting the older guys that can't log. They don't know how to use the trucking office. I mean, keep trucking, the ELD. They don't know how, they want to use the log books,
Right.
with the ruler and all that stuff.
You mean the cheat books? The cheat books?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
The comic books, like we used to call them?
yeah. So, but you're never satisfied till you do it yourself. So I do it myself until I find somebody right. But the other owner operators that's in the same area as me, they tell me I need to try to use a lady trucker because lady truckers get the job done.
They do. Lady truckers get the job done.
So
they have a different work ethic, I think.
Yes,
what do you think about
that, Dean? I'm paying well too. I'm paying well.
I don't think the dean can hear us. He's talking, but we can't hear him. Somebody tell the dean that we can't hear him.
All right.
Yeah, Big Face needs some drivers.
I just need one good driver that lives in Atlanta that wants to be home every day and never have to take a shower in a truck stop.
One good driver lives in Atlanta. Call Big Face up. Yeah, see, look at that. Dang, Big Face even's got a diamond truck headboard. nice sleeper there, Big Face.
Diamond tucked.
Yeah.
That's funny. Oh, man.
Dean, we can't hear you.
Huh?
I tell Dean we can't
Can you hear me?
him.
Yep,
we
you
hear you
trucker,
now.
what you doing?
Can you hear me?
Well, we got Sandman.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dean.
We
say
did
something.
for a second.
We did for a second. Well, you got to speak louder, Dean. Trap says he stays in Atlanta. The Dean's headset is bedazzled. somebody got his noise cancellation on. Come on, Dean. He's got some bad time with technology.
He's always struggling with that phone.
Well, he's got to stop buying Walmart phones.
Yeah. I mean,
hold on.
I don't know what kind of phone he
Well,
got. You guys go in.
Anytime,
I don't know what kind of phone he got.
We can hear you, Dean. Just talk louder.
Anytime you go to the produce section, you probably shouldn't buy the apple with the bite out of it.
Or the worm in it.
All right, Dean.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, man, miracles happen, bro. Hey, look, I heard y'all talking a bunch of stuff, Sandman. Hey,
well,
listen,
you're in the produce section.
Hey,
you're in the produce section buying apples with bites out of them.
All right, listen, I'm gonna start making calls. I'm gonna start making calls tonight. About 01. And we'll make sure you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Even Shannon Thomas is waving.
What's up?
Hey, Shannon.
You know, I have the most difficult time in the truck. I don't know what's going on, man. Maybe it's probably me, but
well,
hell, I don't know.
Speed Shifter says, 1, get off Straight Talk playing. because you
I
run
don't
out
know
of
what I'm
data.
doing. Hey, listen, I need some help for real. This is no joke. Like I have issues.
Music City Transport's got your back, Dino.
Oh, thanks,
All
man. See, that's
the
my.
guard.
I told you I met him at a truck stop. He had a W-9 also. We were getting a truck wash. He's a good guy. Marine.
Marine.
Yeah, but hey, no. Listen, Jeff. I was trying to tell you. So you asked a question, and look, I'm not trying to irritate anybody, but or get anybody upset, but I do think if we look at our family, if we look at our families in the family unit and how that all works, look, I would say in general, most of the time the wife is the glue that holds everything together, right? Because
Right.
you know, we get doing a hundred things and they keep us grounded. You know what I mean? One way or the other. You know, either they kick you out, grease ship, tell you to go back to work, but you know what I mean. So I do think to some degree they might be more focused. I think work ethic. Look, I think they have a good work ethic, and I also think it's good when you have something to prove to yourself, not necessarily to others, because we've all done that in our younger days. But I would agree with that, Jeff, for sure. I think women have decent work ethic. Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife works in all honesty, she works 18 to 20 hours a day, every
Damn.
day, 7 days a week.
Right.
And right. I mean, she's taking care of them kids when they're sick. She's up in the middle of the night taking care of them. I mean, laundry, dishes, I mean, shoot, I'm gone right now and it just snowed a foot and she's out there shoveling the driveway.
In New
Whoa,
York?
wait a minute. Whoa, wait a minute. You got 22 kids, and not one of them get out there and shovel that driveway?
Well, that's another conversation, Jeff. We might not want to have that right now.
Another show.
Hey,
now, Dean.
hey, but why
Dean,
not? Hey, no, but
Dean,
hold on. He
hold
wants
on a
to
minute.
put me on blast. Let's put him on blast.
Okay. All right, we'll put him on blast once we. Big face trucker, you got a headboard because Dean is going to want to do that to his truck.
I'm not in the truck, man.
That's a diamond headboard. Those are diamonds.
Man, hey,
Yeah.
just tell me where I can get it, man.
Stop it.
Go to
You have to treat me
1800
like a
Peachtree
king.
Boulevard. 1800 Peachtree Boulevard. Roll up in there, and he'll install it in your truck.
All right, it's a done deal, baby. Let's do it.
Every other street is Peachtree Boulevard in Atlanta.
Oh, geez. Thanks. I don't go to Atlanta, so we're saved by the bell.
All right, Dean, we can pick on Sandman now. Go ahead, give it to
Oh,
him.
okay. Oh, did he leave?
No, he's here. He's waiting to hear your comeback.
Oh, shoot. Well, you can't talk about him yet. We gotta wait till later.
Gotta wait till I'm gone when I don't have a chance to defend myself.
Big face with a California king size bed, says Pete Shifter.
There you go. You try to start?
Actually, that's his BMW he's laying in.
Nah, man. Nah. This is the doghouse.
How many BMWs you got this day? 7?
Only 2. I only got 2 out there. I got some oldies.
Mm-hmm.
Some old ones. Yeah. I'm not going to do that no more. I'm collecting Hemis and shit. Like, oh, excuse my language.
Right.
I'm collecting
Oh,
Hemis.
man. That's a good way to get 86, man.
Yeah, I'm collected on some Hemis and stuff.
Any of you guys do the brackets for the basketball?
I usually do it, but I didn't do it this year.
Well, they're all broken from all these upsets, right?
Right. That's what I heard.
The only ones that usually pick them when they're not broken is people that don't watch basketball, it is pick names. Well, I like this name.
Right. Just guessing. Yeah.
Big Face going to sleep on us.
I usually watch a lot of college basketball, but I haven't watched college basketball. I mean, at all this year, really. I mean, I love college basketball, but I just haven't watched any this year.
Yeah, I haven't watched nothing yet. No.
Hey, Big Face.
Yeah.
You know that present you sent me a couple years ago?
You
That
want
thing is
another
full.
present?
It's full.
Oh yeah.
I go to the range, it's full.
Wow.
I'll put a couple of ARs in there, bunch of pistols in there. It's full.
It should only hold 2 ARs, Jeff.
I stuffed 4 in there.
Oh man. I'll send you another bag.
Yeah.
Get you in trouble.
But he wants he wants a Louis Vuitton. He wants a Louis Vuitton one.
Yeah.
A Coach or a Prada. How about a Prada?
a $3,000 rifle bag. Louis Vuitton.
Oh man. That's funny.
But the good thing is hopefully the weather's almost over and we can it's going to stay light longer now. I'll be able to see, because when the sun goes down, well, I have man, getting old is something else, man. I have a hard time seeing.
I was in Tennessee this morning. It was snowing. So I don't know about the good weather going on.
It snowed in Indiana.
It was 38 in Louisiana last night.
Man, it was cold last night.
I'm going to go see if I can find a different headset. Because this one's going dead again. You guys can talk.
Well, Sandman, tell us what's up.
I don't know. So Dean, like,
what's up?
You like to run out west, right?
Yep.
So
I do.
So you go out to Reno, and then you come back.
Yep.
And you're making that work, right?
I do. Yep.
From Reno to where? Well, where you go back to? New York?
No. I don't go. I typically, Big Face, I'm not going to lie to you, man. My running area is about.
Your phone went out.
Your headset died again.
No. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Wait.
Oh, I said my running area is about the size of your kitchen.
Oh, all right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I don't run anywhere. Sandman will tell you, I don't run anywhere. But I'll go from Kansas City, Seattle, California. I do a lot of Nevada, and then I'll just go back to Kansas City. But what I found since last year when the rates dropped, if the short game's not working for you, and it's tough. The short game's tough. I mean, if you're looking for loads every single day, that's tough to do on your own. But if you can do a long run and then mix it in with something short and then maybe something a little longer, and then head back west again, you can make some decent coin doing that.
Yeah, you're working 20, 22 days a month, and what are you pulling down a month in revenue running to Reno or Vegas, and then maybe in Arizona or and then back to Kansas City?
Anywhere from 20 to 25.
Yeah. Right, and you're working 20, 22 days a month. Because when you're running those short games, you're home.
Well, I haven't worked more than 20 days all year, so it's been hit or miss. So I've been going out west quite a bit because my dad's dying, but yeah, so we got that going on. But
so yeah. I remember you took a load. I remember you took a load out from Kansas City out to Reno, and then you went down to Phoenix out of Reno, and then you came back to Kansas City out of Phoenix. How much was your load out of Phoenix? Rate per mile to Kansas City.
Oh, I don't remember the rate per mile, but it was garbage. So that's actually
It was a dollar.
because
It was a dollar. It was $1.30,
no,
right?
no, no, no,
It was
no,
about
no.
a
It was more
dollar.
than that. No, it was more than
Was
that.
it?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was
I could,
definitely well under $2.
it was under $2. Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up here actually, but
Well, and
uh,
look, I'm just trying to keep the conversation on the topic
right.
of his title, right? So let's dig into like how you can make a crappy rate work in this market.
Well, that's
Right.
what you got to do. Well, so think about it. So, Jeff and I've talked a lot about this. If you're in, so I was in Reno, uh, and you can't go Reno to the Midwest because that'll kill you. Not necessarily because of the rate, but more so because of the time factor that's involved there. So, I mean, if it's a Monday or Tuesday, and you take that load go to the Midwest, I mean, you're going to get unloaded probably Friday. That's so you need to do something short before you go back east. So even if you go up north, it's better. Now, I'm tired of being cold, so I went south, and I got a good rate going to Phoenix, and then a terrible rate going to Kansas City. But we've talked about it before on this channel. If you go, let's just say you went Kansas City to Phoenix, and it's a weekend, but let's say you unload on Friday, there's nothing, and there's probably going to be nothing Saturday or Sunday. But let's say there isn't. Look, you may be better off deadheading. I mean, try Albuquerque, try Amarillo, and look, you probably find something out of Amarillo. If not, then heck, go to Oklahoma City. Because think about it, if you don't do that, and granted that's 1,000 miles, but if you just make your mind up Saturday morning, you're going to wake up, 4 a.m. If I don't find something, I'm out. Uh, you're saving your week next week, because if you sit in Phoenix until Monday and now get something out of
And then
Phoenix,
take the crappy rate out of Phoenix.
right now you got that terrible rate out of Phoenix. Well, now you got all of that next week is going to be terrible. So it's really going to cost you over a week to make up for that load going to Phoenix. Even if you get paid really well going into Phoenix, you're still going to have that whole next week dealing with, a terrible rate. And it's going to be really tough to get back into a good market by the end of the week. So why not just eat the fuel, even if it's $500?
Right.
Eat the fuel, go to, let's just say Oklahoma, because I was going to do that. I said, heck with it. I'll just go to Oklahoma. Now, I found something that worked, but it's better just to, nip it in the bud right now versus, but if you're going to make that decision, you can't make the decision on Sunday. You have to make that decision on a Saturday, right? In this example. Otherwise,
Well, and I really like what you were getting at. Like, so talking about timing of when you make certain decisions, right? So if you land in Reno on a Thursday or a Friday, you're
Okay.
probably gonna run a little longer out of there than you would if you land there on a Monday. Because if you land there on a Monday, you're gonna take something short down to
yep,
Phoenix, get that better rate per mile, right, for the miles that you're running there, and then
right,
you're gonna run the longer load out of the Phoenix market, right? I mean, I basically did the
Ooh,
same
oh,
thing,
man.
Gene. In February,
Yeah,
I went I went from home in North Dakota over to Seattle on a really good rate per mile. Then I
hey,
took
Jordan.
a really good load out of Seattle down to Tucson, and then I landed in Tucson on a Friday, and there was
You home
nothing
today?
good there.
You
I deadheaded 900 miles all the way to Central Texas and got a great rate to go back to Seattle.
Let me
And
before you
and,
leave.
and
Have a talk. Not a bad talk, but a good talk. Yeah, I'll watch
yeah,
that
so
for you.
I mean, there's different strategies, right? So you like that midweek thing, like if you land on a Friday in Reno, you're probably going to do something different than if you land there on a Monday to maximize the potential for your whole month.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I mean, obviously, we all want to make as much revenue as we can. But if you, so I think a lot of guys, gals are scared to go west because they look at the rates and they say, well, I'm not going to go west. If you go west, you just got to be smart about it. And we can't do what we did a year ago or 2 years ago. You may not be able to come back east on your next load. You may have to go north. But what I can tell you is this: even if you, I mean, Phoenix is a terrible market, but you can make a lot of money going from Phoenix to Reno and go back and then go
Or Spokane or
or
Seattle.
go Reno, or the better way would be go Phoenix to Reno and then Reno up to Spokane or something, right? Up north,
Right.
because you're
Yep.
going to get paid out of Reno. Now,
I like that
you're going
word,
to be on the
Right.
road
Spokane.
for a few more days, but that's going to be a lot better for you as far as revenue is concerned, right?
Right. And Dean, so I remember talking to you when you were in Reno and you went down to Phoenix and you got unloaded on, I don't remember what day of the week it was. Let's just say for the sake of this conversation, it was Monday, right? So you wanted to run something shorter to kind of make the best of the week, right?
Right.
So then you went to so you ended up going to Phoenix on Tuesday. But what did you, so I remember talking to you on Monday and you had been on the load boards all day. And so what was your thinking during Monday and into Tuesday morning when you made those decisions?
Well, so I don't understand what you mean. So,
Well,
well, yeah. So
his thinking was he called me. No, I'm just kidding.
well, no, well, I did call Jeff. We talked,
Yeah,
but look,
you know
I think,
we talked about. We talked about FRC. That's what we talked about.
yeah, actually, we did. But look, I think so I know a lot of people book ahead. I saw Shannon's comment in there, and look, Shannon, I'm not picking on you here, but everybody has their way of doing things. Is it bad to book ahead? I mean, it just depends on you, I suppose, right? A lot of people swear by booking ahead. Look,
Yeah, I'm an advocate
I
for it
just,
in certain
but
situations.
well, right, and look at Jeff's mentality, and I kind of go along with it. Look, there's always a load. It may not be the best load, but there's always a load. There was always a load in COVID, and there's always a load now. It may not be where you want to go, but there's a load. But my issue with booking early, especially now, right? In my opinion, if you book early, you're costing yourself, I mean, to me, and I could be way off base here, but to me, you're costing yourself, a lot of money, and sometimes, right? And I
Right,
also think,
but
look, I also think there's some games being played too, and I don't think they're putting all their cards on the table until they have
they're
to,
not.
right?
They're not. They're
So,
not. And that's a real thing. But like so I Rob, that I am at times an advocate for booking early. So and I find this because I like to run the Northwest. That's what I like to run. I like the open road out there and a lack of traffic. That's my thing. That's my gig, right? But then
right.
now I'm down here I'm running 10 right now. It's like, what am I doing down here? It's mind-boggling for me. But I have found myself go into the Pacific Northwest and then not have a load booked for Monday, and there's not enough volume to get anything decent until Tuesday. So then I end up losing Monday. So if I can, I want my Monday load booked on Thursday or Friday, so then I can keep the wheels turning. That's how I look at it. But that's not,
Mhm.
I don't always do that. I'm doing the same thing. I'm in Houston right now, but I'm playing the game because all I had to do was look at the load board 3 days ago, and I was getting phone calls out of this market. So um, they're struggling. I believe they're struggling for trucks in this market at the moment, and it's going to be to my to my advantage to play the last minute and book after I get unloaded. Right.
Yeah, I think.
But
Look,
back to,
so well, Music City Transport made a good point, right? So in you and I, all three of us, you, me, and Jeff, we've talked about this many times. Look, I do agree. So if you run short and you're a one-man show, a guy like Snorlord can really help you out because you're going to miss a lot of loads on the low board. If you're just a one-man show and you don't have anybody looking at the board, that's going to be a struggle, right? Unless you like to make a lot of phone calls. So if you're not the guy that likes or gal that likes to make a lot of phone calls, then I agree. Booking early or booking ahead can definitely be a benefit for you. I mean, I don't do that. I mean, sometimes, but he's also right. So look at if it's just you, if time is our biggest cost, running short can be good, but it also can be bad. Look, I'd rather get my money and what I need. Let's just get that out of the way, and then we'll worry about the rest later. That's kind of how I look at it. That's how I approach it.
yeah, and that's why, you can, and so, and you have a certain number that you'll run to Reno for, and you'll cherry pick those loads because you'll be running short right around your home Kansas City area, right? So you'll just be doing those 200-mile loads, and you'll be watching those loads throughout the week. And if that Reno load sits there and it gets to the day of shipping, you'll put a good number on that. And if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, you just keep running short.
Right. Well, exactly. And look, also look at to Snorlord's point. Also, look, there's a lot. When you're looking at the low boards all the time, you kind of know what's there and what's not there, or what will be there, or what's a possibility that something could pop up. In this market, people may say, there's no loads, but having an extra set of eyes can be, can mean the
Yeah,
world
a
to
guy
you.
like Snorlord can really help. I mean,
Yeah.
I needed a power only load out of deep down south in Mississippi. And I had been watching the boards, and I just, not even looking to get help from Steve. I just called him one day while I was kind of doing that, and I was like, and I told him what I was up against, and he jumps on the board at a time when I'm unable to because I'm driving down the road, and boom, he finds this golden little nugget for me, and so an extra guy to look um, is can be very advantageous. Um, but like, to say that you can't make money and you shouldn't, like, don't take $1.50 to come out of Phoenix. I mean, you know, if you can't if you can't if you can't take $1.50 to come out of Phoenix when you include the rate that you went into Phoenix for, then you shouldn't have gone to Phoenix to begin with. It
No,
wasn't a good enough
exactly.
rate.
Well, right. So, and look, you're not, so you can't, you're not necessarily going to make profit on every single load, right? I mean, of course, that's our goal, but that's probably unrealistic, especially in this
In
market.
this
But,
in this
but
market,
if you marry,
that's a tough sell.
but if you marry two loads together and you focus on revenue per day and not the rate per mile, I guarantee you it'll average out, right? It will average out.
I think there's a couple of things, right? That you ever seen them triangles where you have like the three different points, and it might be like a cost, the revenue, the mileage, and then so I've always put this down to four. We don't have triangle in this industry, right? We have four. You have your costs, paying yourself, your profit, everything like that. You have the time equation, the revenue, and the mileage. If you start taking low cost, like low rate, or trying to drop your costs down, or you're now investing more time in the load, or more, you need more revenue, or if the mileage is high, your time's going to be a lot more because now you've got more time on the load. So now that means your revenue has to be higher to compensate for it accordingly, right? So if you think of everything's a compromise, right? It's all about averaging. And if you want everything balanced and just think that it has to be an exact square, you have to figure out how to manage your time, the revenue you need, the type of mileage you can put down in that time, and what your costs are. Because if one of them things is out of balance, it's never going to happen. And that's why I always say this industry is like a Rubik's Cube, right? You've got to be able to say, well, crap, I'm not going to be able to make the revenue on this particular leg of my run. And you better have something backwards or be able to think a couple of steps ahead to even that square back out so everything balances out, right? And I think
Well, yeah,
that's where a
Stuart,
lot of people
Stuart,
struggle.
Stuart, you just put a nice little bow on what I was trying to drive at in this conversation with Dean. I mean, you have to balance it all out. Like you can't get zeroed in on one or the other.
Correct. And
Yeah, but,
and
but
it's
but here's the other piece though. So and I agree with you. So if you're looking at averages, but understand. So when we're booking loads and we know it's a terrible rate. So what I don't like is everybody's costs are vastly different. So if somebody's costs are $1 and someone else's costs are $2, that's where we get into trouble. I think you have to understand. One, you're a business, right? Again, the plumber's not coming to your house for less than $100 an hour, right? We know that. So we're a viable
Yeah, but
business, but we can only sustain ourselves if we make an adequate, wage, if you will, right? So you're going to have to, stick to your guns sometimes because, look, we all understand cheap rate is anything less than our cost, but that's where we get into trouble. But the main point I want to make here is, look, when I talk to these brokers, it costs me the same to run my truck in Reno or to run my truck in Kansas City. It's no different. And I hate
exactly.
I hate the term backhaul. I hate that.
Is that a
It
true
costs me
statement?
the same money.
Well, does it really? Because fuel's more expensive up in Reno than it is in Kansas. I mean, there is.
That's my point. Exactly. So why would it be less to leave Reno, right?
It shouldn't be
Because
less.
no, I
Right.
agree. But if the volumes, if they've got 50 trucks and 40 loads, 10 people are missing out, and then it becomes
Right.
a dollar or something is better than zero for and that's where.
Right.
Would you rather be the guy that loses out, or would you rather take a bit of a loss and say, hey, look, at least I'm covering some of my, and that's where this goes, right? That's where volumes is
Right.
a big part of that, right? And it comes back to lane knowledge, right? If you don't, if you're going into a lane and you're potentially putting yourself in that situation, you better be prepared to potentially take that loss and drop your pants on the way out, right? I mean, that's just part of the game, and that's not even part of this equation. It's part of just understanding the lane and where freight's moving. That's a whole different
Well,
subject.
Well,
yeah.
yeah, I mean,
So,
and Dean and Jeff are right. Like, why is Phoenix $1.50 to come out of there? Like, it costs me the same to run my truck into Phoenix as it does out. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But like you said, Stuart, volumes play a factor in all of this. And back to you touched on this a little bit, Stuart, and stirred my mind. But we were talking about being in Reno and looking at the load board all day Monday after getting unloaded. And then Tuesday morning, he got up, he got on the load board, he made 3 or 4 phone calls. He knew what he was going to get. He took it, even though he didn't want it, to keep the truck moving. Because if he sat Tuesday trying to find something better, now he's lost another day. It doesn't make sense. Like you're gonna protect the average on the month. You're going to protect that average by keeping the wheels rolling.
I agree 100%. It's one of them. If that's a potential, right? That you could end up sitting with no load, and now it's that time equation of the square now gets put into whack, right? And you have to start. You can't make more time. So now you have to make it up in areas where it's you either drop your cost, which is very difficult to do, or you got to produce more revenue to offset that time. So it once again, it's part of the balancing act, and you have to have some sort of knowledge of the lanes, right? I mean, that's really what that
well,
comes down.
Right.
I look at it like this too, Stuart.
If you go into
Go ahead,
that
Jeff.
lane and you know it's a bad area coming out, take what you get and come out. Don't sit there for
Right.
days. You should already have that factored in before you even took that load.
Right.
You
I
should.
also
And
I also say people say deadhead out, right? I mean, yeah, yes and no, because look, for me to go and pick up a load in a bad area, well, I've got a couple of hours tied up in it, maybe, right? Getting loaded, then a couple of hours unloading. So now I might add an extra 5 hours of my time, in top of instead of deadheading, right? Yeah, I get a little bit of a discount because I'm deadheading, but it's still when you're talking, potentially a buck 20, you know, to taken away from your deficit, it puts you ahead of the game rather than just a zero and just going into negative, right?
not
You're
always.
fornicating
Not
with it.
always. Well, not always, Stuart. I mean, and look, and I appreciate the feedback, but not always. And the reason is, you got to look at, so more important than a rate is the time factor. So in my deadhead miles. So like if you're in Reno and I got to go over the
Bingo.
hill to go into let's say Sacramento, that
Mhm.
may not be beneficial to
See,
go over the hill. And then, because if I do that, let's say it's a Monday, I'm not going to leave California till Tuesday by the time I get loaded. But heck,
I,
I
I,
could be six,
I
seven
would,
hundred miles down the road.
no, I would agree. I would agree with you, right? I would definitely agree with you in that situation. If you're, deadheading to go like from a Reno to a Sacramento, or I was thinking like Denver, right? I don't think if
I'll
I'm
deadhead out of Denver every time.
See, I won't. I'll go up to Fort Collins, pick up a cheap beer load, and for me personally, I generally end up going to Rapid City because I can make I can make $3-4 a mile normally doing that.
You
Um,
can do that.
Yep.
That's a good run there. Yeah.
and then
Yep, that's the lane. That's the lane out of Denver is north. You go to
yeah,
Yep.
Billings, you go to Rapid City, you go somewhere in North Dakota, and then you deadhead there from
It,
there to somewhere where you can get a decent
it,
load.
unless you have a connection that pays a really good load back to the East Coast.
mhm.
Right.
Right.
Are you hitting at
No, and
something there?
Stuart's
connections
right
is
though.
very important.
That lane going to Rapid City is a good lane. And I mean, heck, you might be better off instead of deadheading over to Kansas or something, deadhead up to Warland or Rapid City, right? I mean, you got to look at the miles. I don't know how many miles it is, but because you can get better loads out of there for sure.
Well, yeah, Rob, you went to what I don't remember when it was, but you went to Seattle. You got a good rate to go to Kansas from Kansas City to Seattle, and then you're sitting in Seattle, and you wanted to go back to Kansas City. That was your plan, right? And
Right.
that's my lane, right? So I'm like, okay, do this and this, right? So you got a good paying load to Billings, Montana, and then you deadheaded 250 miles or 200. It's probably like it's probably like 190 or something down to Warland, right? And then you grabbed a can load weighing 6,000 pounds out of Warland, Wyoming, and went to Kansas City with that, or I think maybe you went all the way to Indy on that, but
No, I went to Kansas
um,
City. Yeah, I went to Kansas City.
and you
Uh,
did better on that than you would have, and it only took you one extra day.
here's something Music City Transport says, but I I kind of differ. I'm not going to give my opinion on this. I would argue the development of data-driven tech using apps has made the data more marketable by tools like Sonar. I'm not going to give my opinion on that.
I am, because I said years ago when Four Kites came out, and there was what's that knucklehead on Rate Per Mile Masters, okay? And
I know. I'm not going to say his name. I know you're
no,
talking about, Stuart.
but I got into it with it. I was like, dude, this is bad because if they're tracking us, I said they're going to know exactly in and out numbers of trucks, and I had it out with him. I said, because if they're not charging for that service, how the hell are they making money? Someone
They're
doesn't go into business for no reason whatsoever. That's where the value of our data becomes value. It's no different to Facebook, Amazon, AWS, all these companies, Apple are tracking our ass, and that data's being that people don't
Yeah,
realize how valuable that data is and how it's used against us in industries like this.
right.
oh,
That's a fact
especially in
too.
this.
And where are they getting that data? And is the data totally accurate? Because it's not the whole picture. But
No.
these places produce that data, which affects our bottom line. Because
Right.
new brokers come in, new drivers come in, and they think That's the gospel. That's what
Well,
it is.
look, and this is the games that I think that um, Dean was referring to earlier, right? So I took a load from, we'll just say, Rapid City to LA. It was a while ago, but I got down into LA, and it was garbage rates coming out of there, garbage rates. And but what I did notice, I sat all day and I'm watching the load board all day, trying to find a nugget, right? Trying digging. And every time a load went off the board, one load came on the board. The volume stayed the same all day long, but yet there was 100 loads posted during the middle of the day. So there was more volume in the market than they were showing on the load board. And
Right.
that's a game that they're playing against us, and we got
To
to be aware of
suppress,
it.
they're suppressing the numbers.
Right.
Right.
Well, and I want to make something clear here. I'm not saying you should deadhead in every situation, CDN, but in a market where the volumes are down, or they say they're down, and if you're going into that market, rather than sitting a whole weekend, let's say, if that were the case, why not just set yourself up for success for Monday? And maybe that's not good for you. I don't know, but everybody may look at it different.
Here's an example.
I would rather just leave and then be set up for Monday. That's what I'd rather.
Well, here's an example. We had a guy deliver Saturday or Friday. I mean, well, he headed 500 miles over to Kansas. Got a little bit more money than the load he could have picked up right there, but goes to a better place. It's a win-win on that deadhead.
Right.
And plus, he's going the same amount of miles, but a third of them are empty. Better fuel mileage.
Right.
More money in your pocket.
Right.
Right.
And if more people do that, guess what happens to those loads?
Rates go
They're sitting
up.
there. They have to raise the rates because no one's taking them.
That's
yeah,
right.
but the
Right.
thing
So
is,
somebody else is going to get an extra 20
Right.
to 50 cents a mile on
Yeah,
that
but
because you left
it
it
does-
sitting there.
and the rate eventually it would just, because it all comes back to volumes, right? If it's just a place that doesn't produce anything, or is not the traffic going through there coming out, we could artificially, manipulate the rates by saying, well, we're not going to move anything out of here, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, this industry, it's cyclical, right? It will just go back to where it was before once it's been, straightened itself out.
Right.
Yeah. And, I landed in Tucson on a Friday. And I had time to get reloaded in Tucson, but it would have cost me my load out of Central Texas on Monday, and I would have been having to find something out of Central Texas or wherever that load out of Tucson would have taken me. I would have had to find that on Monday, right? And so I just took the deadhead, and I did really good on that 8-day period, and that fuel to deadhead those 900 miles over into Central Texas didn't cost me but $300. I was going to run those miles anyhow. So because it doesn't always work to deadhead, but you gotta open up the load board, open up the radius, and sit with a calculator and figure out if it's worth it or not. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not.
Hey, big face trucker.
Right.
Big face.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm hungry, man. Send me
Yeah.
a pizza.
I gotta fly up to New York, man, and give you some pizza, man. There's no pizza down in Georgia.
Well, I wouldn't.
They make
The old man says you would deadhead out of Phoenix to go to Albuquerque. Well, I'm just saying. So if it's a Saturday and I'm headed, if I were to do that, I would look at Albuquerque to see if there's a load there. Right? You might get lucky. Who knows? If not, then I just go to Amarillo. But what I don't want to do is sit the whole weekend and wait on a garbage load for Monday. I just don't. I don't see the value in that.
That load on Monday might not manifest. Now you're there until Tuesday.
Right.
Right.
Or Wednesday.
Right.
And that's why I say
I mean, sure,
open up
you
the
can-
radius
you
and
can
just
go-
look.
You got to
Well, you can.
bypass the low boards, man. That's me. I just get rid of the low boards, man,
Big
and find a direct connect.
Big Face. Ronnie Brown says Big Face at 201 Jackson. Do you get that?
20 201 Jackson. What's that?
I don't know.
Oh,
He's asking you.
201 Jackson? What is that? This is Big Face at 201. No, I'm not at 201. I'm at 770 if that's an area code.
We had to
But I
bleep
don't
that
get
out.
it,
We had to bleep
but
that out.
listen,
Exit 201 off 75.
say again?
Exit 201 off 75.
Why, he see me there?
I don't know. He's in the comments.
Right, he could have been.
Quit
He couldn't see
sleeping and
me.
read the comments.
I run up 75.
Here, let's wake you up. Let's wake you up.
Now, I probably need to drop a little something, man. I really get upset sometimes to hear these drivers that's out on the road that's running and they're away from their families. When if you find you a main city, I believe, and I always believed this when I first got into trucking, that you can make $1,000 right here in the main city, and that's what I did in Atlanta. I figured it out. I did my due diligence. I looked around. I got rid of the damn, excuse the language. I got rid of the broker. I started knocking on doors. I started meeting people. Likening is a good way of contacting people that will pay. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
here's
And
a
I'm probably going to drop a video, like a 5-minute video live tonight. You know, just saying how I did it and why I'm like this and why I'm at home.
well,
I
Big
hired
Face.
drivers. You
Here's
know,
what you tell them, right? If you're an owner operator and you want to be
right,
home a lot more, move to the good freight lane, the good city that has that local work.
right, right,
Exactly.
right, right.
I moved out of Florida, right? I came up to just north of Nashville, puts me right at that 65 I-24 I-40 corridor. There's always look, is that area really strong for freight? No, but what it does do is I can go 5 hours one direction, 5 hours back, 5 hours the other direction, 5 hours back, and I can get by the house on a regular basis. It's not necessarily the strongest freight hub,
Right.
but there's a lot that runs through back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
I'm gonna
right.
drop the
Hey,
video. I'm gonna give one clue word. If y'all check this video out that I dropped, then I'll just drop it. I'm gonna give one clue word for those who's in the main cities like New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Charlotte, uh, Dallas, Houston. Y'all need to check it out. If you want to stay home, you finish going over the road, spending time in the truck and all that stuff. You need to check that out.
hey,
You know.
we'll all give a shout out to Alaska Trucker and the frozen tundra on the ice road. Woohoo!
Hey, but I gotta leave, Jeff. I'm gonna kick it with my daughter. My daughter just came in,
All right, man.
and
Hey,
I'll
don't
holler at you. Jeff,
don't send me. Don't send me
huh?
another gun bag. I don't need one. I just put
Nah,
4 or 5 in that one.
I'm gonna give you a call tomorrow. Though.
All right. Call me tomorrow.
I don't know what's a good time, but I'll just try.
Yeah, call me tomorrow.
All right, then. Everybody to hold it down like trucking. Hats off to the lady truckers. All right. Peace.
Peace.
See your big face.
All right.
The old man says, "Would you call my wife and explain that to her?"
Well, yeah, being in yeah, you like you said, Jeff, get in a good lane, right? Move to a good lane. That was what that's or if you're not in a great lane, figure out how to best run your lane. You know, I don't live in a good freight market, and I still make it work, right? And I can still get in and out of the house every other week. Now, maybe somebody wants to be home every other day or something. That's a tough. That would be a tough pill for me. But um, you know, you got to know your lanes. You got to know the lanes you run and how to run them.
Right. The link's back up. Somebody else wants to come in. There's room. Come on in. We'll go here for a few more minutes. Because
Comes back to foundation, right? I mean, you tell me I'm an industry or a company that would start up without doing market research, right? And understand who they're selling to, what their demographics are. I mean, once again, this is the only industry in the world that I know of that you can buy your way in, and you don't have to market for customers. You can literally go to a load board and they're trying to push loads off on you, right? And so all the legwork in traditional business is thrown out the window, right? You don't have to know, your demographic, aka the lanes we run, and have any understanding of that, whereas most businesses do, and that's just
Well,
reality.
see, but so not to disagree with you, because I do agree with you in the general sense that the ease the ease of entry, because you don't have to market and build a customer base. You can easily access that through a number of different services, right? I mean, you got Uber and Convoy and JB Hunt and Schneider and then you got the two main big load boards plus 123, right? So you can just get work, right? But there's still an importance of understanding the markets that you work and how to best utilize your equipment in those markets, right? And that's what we enter too easily, and then we don't know how to best utilize the markets we're in, and we whine about rates being too low. Well, if the rates are too low, like for me, I live in a bad freight market. Well, I get out of there and I go run markets that are better, right? So and then I have to learn those markets. Not only do I have to learn my market and how to get in and out of there, but I got to learn a market that I am going to run, right? And I got to learn how to stay in the web of that market so that I stay in those good rates and I don't run myself out of them.
Well, and not only that, but look, we talked about a lot of different markets, right? I don't, the lane stuff. I think that's just other. I won't even get into. I'll leave it. I'll leave it alone. But look, there's a lot of. If you look at the states you run in, and we mentioned a few of them here: Colorado, Phoenix. Look, you need to piggyback on what Sandman said. Go to AAA compliance and see if you can run some intrastate loads, right? And that may be a good way to fill your day. If you say, well, I don't want a deadhead, well, that's fine. See if you can run intrastate and at least make some revenue. Maybe it's the same you would have made if you got a load and a cheap load or whatever the case is, and it can fill your day. But I just look at we can replenish fuel, but we can't replenish time.
Exactly. No, that's absolutely right, Dean. Um, fuel we can put more fuel in the tank, but you cannot replace time. So when you sit, that time is irreplaceable. It's gone, right? If you drive, you can put more fuel in the truck. You can make that back up down the line, or it just eats into your averages, right? But even if you deadhead 400 miles, how much is that going to affect the 10,000 you ran this month? That I mean,
Question
if you
for you: when you guys go out, say you guys say, hey, look, I'm going out for 2 weeks. Okay, you leave on a Monday morning and you want to be back the following 2 weeks
2
Friday, right?
weeks,
Okay.
right?
Do you guys have a number in mind when for that time that you're gone? Do you say, hey, I want to hit $12,000 in this 2 week period? Do you guys do that for yourself? Because sometimes just breaking it down into small chunks, because I do that, because look, I've been caught before where I'm going to wait for a better load. I'm going to wait for a better load. And now I've just lost a day. now I've still got to make the same amount of money. My goal doesn't change at the end, right? And I've still got the same amount of time. But now I've got to figure out how can I, supplement or make up for that lost state, and still hit that same goal. And that, for me personally, that is a trick that I use to try, because you know what, it's a damn grind sometimes talking to these brokers, and you're just getting shot down all the time. It's a grind. Look, there is an look, and you guys are going to call me a crazy. There's an element of the mental side of it, right? There's a mental side to this game of just trying to keep your goals in check and trying to just keep your nose to the ground and keep going, right? To hit them goals.
So Stuart, to answer your question, I absolutely do have a number that I want to hit in a 2-week period or a 1-month period, because I typically come out and I run my month and then I go home for a week, right? So that's typically how I play my game. And so I'm aiming for a goal, and that's where it comes into, like Dean was saying earlier, I want my money now. So if I can see a $5,000 load, boom, I've just grabbed a quarter of my money,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in my pocket.
One thing we want to let's answer this question for Josh the Vegan. Any advice for new authority in Eastern Ohio? Okay, I'll start off and give it a point, and other people jump in here. One of the main things you want to do is, if you book a load with a broker and you're going there to get the load, you actually look at a load board and find a better load, do not call them up and cancel that load. Because if you do, there's a thing out there called Carrier 411, and if they put you on that and you're a new guy, you could really hurt your business.
Yeah. So, and anything with a new authority, like I don't know. My strategy when I had brand new authority was I grabbed one broker and I ran about 60 to 70% of my loads with that one guy. It was one of the big companies, and I just got that year out of the way where I didn't have to fight the load board and fight the phone calls and get denied for loads. That's how I chose to attack that. May not be the way everybody does, but that's how I chose to go after that.
Be squeaky clean. Everything, every interaction with a broker, with the DOT, anyone that could, the insurance agent, anyone. Just make sure your stuff's squeaky clean, and go way above and beyond, even though they might be in the wrong. Just the better reputation you can have, the better it's going to look for you.
Right. Be really polite to them on the phone, no matter if you're mad, because you can say whatever you want once you hang the phone up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Music City's in the house.
I never do that.
What's up, fellas?
What's going on, man?
What's happening?
Long time no see.
That's right. How's that W-9 treating you? You got it all fixed up?
Oh yeah, I got it
Yeah.
rocking and rolling now.
Okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard from you in a while. I thought, well, where the heck did you go?
Man, I've been running. I've just been
all right.
running. That's one of the things I was going to say is, I mean, that's my strategy, is just keeping the wheels moving. I mean, I just
absolutely.
My personal, I guess the way I run my authority and my mindset about it. So I ran out to Reno right before that big blizzard shut everything down.
Yeah.
And for 3 days,
I was there.
I had to sit there. I was over at the TA just kind of waiting for things to get open back up, because going the other way got shut down also. But my view is that if the truck is sitting, it's balancing the crappy rates versus my cost to sit. And I feel like it's $1,000 a day. That's the potential. If you're talking in terms of like energy, right? K is potential energy in all these energy equations, right? So my potential earning I feel like, is $1,000 a day. So on average, and I take that average weekly. I evaluate at the end of the week. Okay, what's my average here, and that tells me whether I need to make adjustments in the next week. If my average is low, then I need to make adjustments next week to try and get into a better market. And that's
Right.
how I evaluate whether I've been maximizing my time on the road. I've been out for a month. I mean, that's what I do. I run for a month, then I go home. I have a 2-year-old. Like, I sacrifice time with my family to be out here. I'm not out here to, you just have fun and live the lifestyle and drive around the country
Right.
for a break even. So that being said, I feel like in general, I studied economics at college, so I'm a big data nerd. And in general, I try and watch the total industry volumes. And that tells me whether or not how to score myself, right? If I'm not
Right.
making the numbers I want to make and the volumes are down, then okay, I'm not screwing up. It's the industry has made a correction, and I need to look at it a little closer and figure out how to capitalize on what volume is there. And one of the things I've been doing is going back and forth with dry van versus reefer to try and figure out which one of those tools, because that's how I look at them as tools, is going to help me maximize my efforts out on the road. It's no different than a hammer or a nail. My truck is the same thing. Now, I've chosen to drive a truck that costs more to operate
Right.
per mile. So I factor that in, and as part of my op costs. But the difference is I own it. I don't have a payment. I don't go to a bank. I own my trailer. And so for me, cheap freight is different.
Right.
It's also a tool by which I can use to navigate to a better market faster.
Right.
I can
Right.
either choose to
Right.
sit and look for a good paying load, or I can use that as a lifeline to go somewhere else.
Well, your leverage is
Right.
different because of your situation, for sure.
Well, and I like what you were saying there. Like, so the potential earning power of the truck is $1,000 a day in your case, right? And that's my number too. That's if I do better than that, that's a bonus. If I do a little bit less than that, I do the same thing. Look at the market and understand what's going on, right? So
Yeah.
$1,000 a day. If I sit, I've just earned zero. I've lost $1,000. Or maybe it was only 700, but I lost it because I didn't move.
Right.
Right. If you sit, you go in the hole.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. You're definitely saying if you sit, hey, I'm shoveling money out the window while I'm here.
Because what these guys understand is every business has a daily expense, whether you own the truck or not outright. There's a daily expense to it.
I'm going to just put obviously I know the answer to this, but it's just you're sitting, right? If you're sitting, you're probably in a bad area. But for the most part, I mean, there's some wacky scenarios out there, but you're generally looking for something better, and it's not going to be you're sitting looking for an okay rate coming out of that area. Well, it's still not. You could just eat it. You're not getting the time back, right? You're better off, either deadheading, taking the cheap load. Maybe instead of losing $1,000, you're only losing $450 or something like that. Yeah, you don't. For the averages of that lane, it doesn't look good, right? But you haven't, like I said, something is better than zero. And now you're putting yourself into the better area. Sitting there the next day, waiting for that load to miraculously appear when the rates are bad for a reason because the volumes in that area are just generally shitty. It's not going to
Right.
change. It's not going to change overnight. It doesn't work like that, you know. It just, you know, it's sort of you're just, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for to put it politely. You're just wasting time. You might as well, you know, be productive. Because sitting there is not productive
Well,
at all.
Dean,
Business.
what's your most valuable thing you can't get back?
It's the time,
Well,
obviously.
Time.
it's your time, right? And so, you know,
Time.
I came up with an acronym, right? That's the military side of me, right? But truckers ignoring money everywhere, right? For time. So back to Stuart's point, I just want to say this. So when I leave the house, I do have a number in mind. And actually, Rich and we talked with some other guys too on the phone, but I just went over this with them a couple days ago. If you take your loads, your number of loads the whole year, and average, you know, divide by 12, I'll bet most guys and gals are going to be somewhere between 9 and 12, and it could be more if you're running the short game. But then take your revenue and then divide that into 9 and see what you come up with. And the reason I say that is when you do that, then you need to take that number into how many days you work to see how, you know, your average time on a load, right? To see if you're being productive. So you've been in sales before, Stuart, I can tell. So when you're sitting in front of Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we want to break it down to the ridiculous so they can see a way to afford it. But it's no different. It's no different for us, right? Because every day changes. So if we don't make to Music City Transport's point, we don't always make the $1,000 a day, but we have to. Our job is to mitigate our losses, right, and manage our wins. And we want to win more than we lose. But that can change every day. And if you're not running your numbers, you know, at minimum weekly, you're going to run into trouble. And you may not understand what you need, because if you know what you need, that's going to reduce a lot of stress. No different than if we're sitting in front of clients, you know, trying to close a deal. Nobody makes decisions or good decisions when their stress level's high.
Right.
Great.
Yeah, the stress levels, you know, managing stress levels, like dealing with brokers, and Stuart brought up brokers earlier. Like the statement that I get from brokers in this bad market that I hate the most is, "That's all I got in it." You know, it's just so deflating.
Right. And they have more in it.
Emotionally.
Right. They have more in it.
Well, even whether they do or don't, it's still deflating, and creates a stress level on me, you know, an emotional response in me. So you have to, like, you got to be careful with that, right? Just sometimes you just got to say, "I'll take it." And you get the wheels turning, you get back over into a better market where you're not hearing that on every phone call you make.
Can I tell you something? But so there's a lot of brokers which are going to email. I've noticed. I mean, since I've been back on the spot, I'm like, I find myself sending more emails now than I do making phone calls, and I freaking love it because you know what? I don't have to hear "that's all I've got." Because to me, when I hear "that's all I've got" in it, that's a weak argument. Because you know what?
Yeah.
If that's got in it, and we know what the 15-day averages are, the 30-day averages are, we know what the volumes are, etc. Tender rejects. This is public information, just about, right? We know all this information, and you're telling me that's all you got in it. Well, if that's all you've got in it, you've failed as a broker.
Right.
Well, and
You have
that's one of the
as a broker, in my opinion, because you know, trying to move something for 90 cents a mile, and there's guys out. I mean, I own my truck outright, and my costs are way more than that. You know, and I will tell a broker in a polite manner, well, I'm sorry, that's all you've got in it, but I'm not going to move that load for you because you couldn't even hire a U-Haul truck, put someone in it, and get it from A to B. That's just the reality. And you know, and once we break that ice, you know, once that ice is broken, and we realize, okay, he's not talking to just your average Joe Blow, right? And
That
it changes. And now I'm at the point where I'm in an email and I'll explain, hey, here's my cost. This is what it's costing me to move this. I really need to be here. I see that and I'll even take a screenshot of the DAT and highlight the 15-day average. Say, look, this is where the 15-day average. And you know what? Once that information they know that I know that, and it's being plastered in their face, what are they going to say? They don't want to look stupid and say, well, that's all I've got in it. What? You've just admitted to me and saying, well, I'm an idiot and I underbid the load when I quote.
Right.
That's
Right.
effectively what they're telling me, right? But so it's an emotional look. Sales is all about emotions and knowing how to control the situation with words. Look, here's another one, right? If I want to go out to dinner, I'll go to the wife. Hey, would you like to go to Texas Roadhouse or would you like to go to Olive Garden? I don't give a rat's ass where we go. I want to go to Olive Garden or Texas Roadhouse. Either way, I win for me, whichever answer she gives. But if she says Texas Roadhouse, she thinks she's decided where we're going for dinner tonight. And that's
Right.
sort of how this has to work, right? You have to control the conversation and set them up to where, look, so here's a perfect one, right? And this is relevant to tracking. And actually, Kenny taught me this one. Was we start talking about detention rates, say, hey, look, we want X amount detention rate. And he comes back, well, you've already asked them that. He normally says it's a quick off, quick on, and then they start bitching about detention rate. Well, then you just call them out. You say, well, you said it was a quick off and quick on. Why would the detention rate be an issue? Here's what we do instead. Why don't we just throw an extra 100 on the rate and we won't even worry about detention if it even comes to that? Now I'm taking a risk because I could be there for 10 hours for $100, but it's, I'm getting it up front and I don't have to worry about trying to file for stuff. So there's a lot of little tactics you can do and control the situation just by using the information that they give you, what we have handed to us as far as the data that's out there, and put it on their plate and make no one wants to sit here and say, I'm an idiot, I screwed up, I underbid this freight for the other option, I'm trying to screw you over and I'm trying to keep half of what I've got on the load. They've got two options here, right? And so no one's ever going to say that. So
But Stuart, so let me just interject here real quick. But to your point, and I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. But
yeah,
here's the reason. So two things. One, people like options and choices, right? But
correct.
we can only give options and choices if we speak to them. I feel like, and I agree, there's more brokers that are going to the email format. But look, that works in their benefit because not only are they setting the rate, but they're controlling the conversation because it takes longer for us to send an email. And now, the misconception is we can build a relationship over the phone, which is not true. We can build rapport over the phone, but we can't build a relationship. So, and if I have them on the phone, I feel like the carrier has, it's not a level playing field, but it's close, right? And so,
So
or
let
it's
me
closer. I think with an email, I think, you know what, if you're not at the top of his inbox, you may not get the load, because I've had it happen where they never replied to it. So I
oh
do
yeah,
agree with you, but I think, that's my
Well, I
fear,
think there's a
because
time and
if
I think
trucking
there's a
goes to
time and
all
a
click
place
and
for it.
goes, if trucking goes to all click and goes, we're in trouble, right?
no,
Yeah, I just
I
think that
get what you're saying, and Sandman's right. There's a time and place for everything. I wish
Yeah.
I could show you my screen right now because I have 2 or 3 separate emails written out. Right, it's in my notes. All I have to do is I hit email, copy, paste, and it's literally there. And it's got, tell me what the load is, pick up times, drop off times, all of the information that I need. And I'll even ask, what's your target rate? And then they'll come back and it's usually the information I'll load. And then my next email will be like, hey, can you give me a call? I don't want to discuss this load in more detail, right? There is a process there. Um, and, if I don't feel like I can get the information I need from an email, then I go to phone call. And there's there's legwork in it, right? It's not easy. I mean, it takes time, and some of it I'm doing while I'm driving, which I hate to say, which is probably not the safest thing. But the reality is, you got to do what you got to do when you're on your own, right? And you got to
Right.
make it work. So, but that's what I
Right.
try and be. You have a generic email, but just it's thought out. It asks a lot of the bullet point
Hey,
questions.
who's your safety manager? Who's your safety manager? I'm messing.
Hey, Dean,
So that
Normatic
last,
Brit is trying to
oh, go
start
ahead.
trouble.
He
Yeah,
is
he's trying
trying
to
to
open
start
up a
trouble.
can of. He's trying to open a can of
Woo!
whoop ass. I hear.
Oh my! Hey, look! Did you have him on the phone earlier, Sam? Man, I think
$33 a
Sandstone is
day.
setting us up,
It's
Jeff.
30.
I
It's
think
it's
Sandstone's setting us
$33
up,
a day
Jeff.
savings. It's $33
Oh,
a day in savings. We'll just leave
that's
it at
right.
that.
Hey, so Stuart, Sandman and I have this argument every day, and I'm like, come on, man, it's $32 a day. All I got to do is not don't pay for parking. I can have the W-9 389. See, Music City Transport. I had my W-9 when I met him, and yeah, I miss my W-9. I'm jealous of you, Music City.
That
I
was
miss my W-9.
Look,
I like
I
that.
had
Nope,
I
no
had a
doubt.
massive mind shift, right? Like, and I think you was on the phone, Sam, and with Sage the other day, and I had a very, I've sort of become to a very ruthless mentality with this industry, and my whole goal is to keep my costs as low as possible because you know what? And I'm not going to pick. Look, you just said you had a W9 Music City, right? Right off the
Yeah.
bat, I bet my fuel costs are probably 30 to 40% cheaper than his. Well, that number, let's just say it's 20, 30 cents, right? Difference in fuel costs per mile or yeah, per mile that I can do. I can automatically, right off the bottom line, to be assuming every other cost is exactly the same and we're paying ourselves the same, right? I can automatically move that freight 30 cents cheaper and be in the same situation. And look, and this is going to be really ruthless. If he can't compete with me at that and it puts him out of business, that's his fault. That's not my fault. That's his fault. And you know what? That's called a market correction. And that's just the way it goes. And it sounds horrible and arrogant and whatever else. And I don't try not to be like that, but
Look,
that's how it
here's
works.
it doesn't sound horrible or arrogant or anything. We're talking about um, we're talking about driving factors that are within the operation of these businesses. We all have a small business that we're running with different operational
Right.
costs, and so it doesn't sound. I don't take anything personal when we're talking business, and quite frankly, you know, um, I would also argue that if my negotiation skills are better than the rest of my cohorts that I'm competing against, then I'm going to be winning as well. And so that's, you know, for example, I base everything, all my communication with everyone is mutual gains negotiations. It's all based off of a mutual sustainable gains. And that's my litmus test. If I'm talking to a person, and I prefer conversation over the phone, that's just my personal thing, um, because I feel like I keep, just these data points kind of in my head floating around, and they just pop in when I need them. And for example, I I pulled a load from Crossville, Tennessee, of 3 rooftop units to a construction site in Reno, and then picked up and I pulled masonite products from out in Reno to Virginia. The load that I was picking up once I dropped in Virginia was steel ball bearings going back to Salt Lake. And on that negotiation, it was listed on the board at $4,300. So they said that phrase that pays. Sorry, this is all that I have in it. I said, okay, no problem. I'm looking at loads. I'll be in the area for about an hour before I decide to leave the area to find better freight. And if you decide that you want me to go pick it up. I'm literally 5 miles from where it is. I can take that load for $5,300. They called me back 20 minutes later after they said that's all they had in it. They said, we'll give you 51, but we have this new thing. It's an on-time deposit of $100, $150. And if you're late, then we keep it. And I said, well, I'm not going to play that. That's childish games. We're all adults here. I don't need somebody to incentivize me to be on time. I'm a truck driver. My whole world revolves around me being on time. I'll pull it for $5,300. And otherwise, I got to go south and deadhead out of the area. Your load's the only one in the area. They took the load, took the thing off the Raycon. It was just a straight, deal from one place to the next. So to me, it's all about and that worked for me. That was a decent number for me to pull the load.
I feel I like what you did there, right? And the way you handled you spoke about the conversation, right? And you pretty much turned the tables on them. And look, fear of loss.
Well,
I mean,
let me interject though, just for a second. Like,
okay, yeah,
it's none of it's personal, and it's not technically a strategy to get the upper hand. It's just, this is what I have to be sustainable. Otherwise, I have to say no.
no, and I understand. Look, we all have a number, right? And I understand that. But the way you went about getting that, right? Brokers, look, we see it on the click and goes. People will just keep underbidding because they want
Right.
the low fear of loss. And what you did was you turned it around on them and said, hey, look, I've got an hour. I'm going to be currently looking for loads. If not, I'm going to be moving out of here. They obviously wanted the load. You obviously showed them something, some sort of knowledge, had rapport, something that triggered them to say, hey, this could be our candidate. This is who we want to move the load. And then they called you back, because of fear of loss. I mean, it's a sales tactic in itself, whether you realized you was doing that or not. But it is another tactic that is used in the sales community all the time. We used to do it with air conditioning. We got to, the summer's right around the corner. The prices are going to go up on a
create scarcity. You have
yeah,
to create scarcity.
yeah. And so,
The takeaway is the best close all the time. You take something away, it's the best close every time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And there are two forms. So, I studied formally because just as tools, I was in a former life, I was in sales, I was in healthcare IT, and I did implementations at medical practices and things like that. But I studied two forms of negotiation. One of them was the Harvard Business Negotiations process, which is called getting to yes. It's really common. A lot of people know it. It's a form of what they call mutual gains negotiation. It's like where things are sustainable, right? Like there's a limit that you can take where you're going to fall out. You're going to go broke. And there's a limit that they can take where they're going to fall out and they're going to go broke. And the mutual gain says there has to be open communication. And right now in our industry, there's just not that. There is with some brokers, like if you establish a rapport and you're very, like there are some brokers, and I'm going to say, a company, at CH Robinson that I can have communication with honestly, and they'll tell me you're not going to take this load. Okay, no problem. But if I see something on the board, they're the people I call immediately and say, hey, tell me the details. What's going on with this thing? And they'll say, we're not going to get there. Or they'll say, this is what I can give it to you for. And sometimes it's $500 more or $1,000 more or whatever. They're honest with me. We really have to move it, or whatever. And I look at how long the age is on the board, how long has it been there? But, and that's what kind of gives me an idea of the scarcity and everything. But, not to get too wrapped around the axle about it, but it's all about combining all the data, little bits and pieces, and you got to do the homework. I mean, I feel like not enough people there are too many people out there, drivers or carrier or independent guys or whatever, whoever's using the load board, that are just saying, okay, this is it, take it or leave it, and they don't even call because it's a ridiculously low number. But I'll call if they got it posted at 60 cents and I can put a bid in it. I'll put a bid in at $5 a mile. They're going to play low, I play high. We try and meet in the middle. And no matter what, my bid, what people don't realize is my bid is now in as the averages. And CH Robinson won't even let me bid on a lot of stuff. They have my account set where a lot of them I can't bid because I'll go through some days and I'll just bid $5, $5, $5, $5, $5 on every load that they have listed on the board, every single one of them, so that when people open it up, it says minimum bid, lowest bid currently is this, and then they get nervous and like, oh, okay, and trying to just pump the thing up, So it is what it is. I mean, everybody plays some sort of like frustrating game from time to time, but
How much of it do you think is lack of knowledge? Because, so I work for a carrier that has an active brokerage as well, right? And they move quite a bit through their brokerage as well. And I asked them on the brokerage side, I was like, hey, when you post a load with no price on it, what are you getting? When you post it with no price, when you get them phone calls, what are you seeing? I said, is it like a shotgun of price, or is it is it a pretty close grouping of prices? And
yeah,
telling me that when they keep track of it, there is prices all over the board, which leads me to believe that there is a lot of guys that are just, shooting for the moon. They're underbidding themselves because of fear of loss. They really don't know what their costs are, whatever it is, but it's just like a shotgun. But they said soon as they dictate a price to the carrier, it's all within a very small grouping every single time, $100 either way. And I find that very interesting from a psychological standpoint, that we need to be dictated to what the price should be. We're not dictating to them,
No,
and
so I,
go ahead.
I was having that conversation with Rob the other day. The worst thing for this industry from a carrier perspective
mm-hmm.
is the 15-day average and posted rates. Eliminate those two things and rates will be higher.
Yeah.
I think so
I
too.
think unfortunately the way that these pieces of technology are being used to collect averages and everything else, volume and capacity is really one of the main drivers for whether brokers know that there's scarcity or not. I'm assuming, maybe a broker who's in the chats can say whether or not they use that as an actual tool, that's actually a thing. But that's, of course, that's the thing that you hear truckers talking about when they're talking a
That's
lot
the
of times, is that's where the scarcity comes
that's
from.
the
Well,
problem,
there's not enough
Music City.
trucks.
That's the problem. A lot of the new guys come in and they got these companies that preach these 7 and 14 day and 30-day averages, and they think, and that's what they go by because they have no other knowledge of the industry.
Yeah.
Right.
And then that's what
They
hurts.
don't know to go off of their operating costs.
And they hurt everybody else in the process.
Or
Yep.
they don't even
Run
know
off
what
their operating costs.
is, I guess.
Right. They don't know their operating costs. And those are the ones when the bad times come, like right now, the rates are low. They're the ones that go out of business first.
Yeah. Well, I saw or heard of another 150 truck company going under recently. I don't know where I saw or read or heard it or whatever, but I gotta be careful how I phrase this, but I have gotten from firsthand knowledge that the larger carriers have and will be in the future, they see smaller carriers, single operator, independent operators with, 1 to 5, 5 to 10 trucks as part of the problem, because they can't there's no management of those from the legislative level. And people kind of mumble about it, but it's true. And that is what really we're kind of up against in terms of industry wide, is larger carriers need drivers. They need drivers in the seat. They don't want someone who's leasing onto their company. They want drivers in the seats. And so everything that's going to be moving forward is something that has to be fought for. And I really feel like not enough people, everyone says, write your legislator, call this guy, whatever, and it's a broken record every time something comes on, but you need to. That's a real thing. If you don't like the way that they're legislating, you need to call or write or text or email someone and say, hey, listen, I don't feel like I'm equally represented as these larger carriers. Do you talk to them? What's going on? How can we have a meeting? How can we get together? Something. But until there's a voice for that, I feel like we're going to be up against some other stuff too. But
You're spot on though. If you look at everything which is being done, right? I mean, you look at hours of service, the 30-minute break, the 14-hour clock. Now they're talking about speed limiters. Is that stuff that really affects the megas or the bigger companies, where they can have someone repower it, drop it at they can just relay it or something, versus the small 1 or 2 truck show? That stuff has bigger implications for the small guy versus the big guy, right? And so there is no doubt in my mind there is strings being pulled to have regulation put in place to make it more difficult for the smaller guy. Then you look at, self-insuring, these megas are allowed to self-insure. I mean, even a guy that's got 50 trucks, right? Try and get self-insured. It's
Well,
a
you're
nightmare.
not going to.
This is the problem, right? But the megas can do it. Drives their costs down. And you look at all these things and regulatory things that are being pushed down the pipeline. There is definitely a war against the smaller carrier, for sure. For sure.
Hey guys, I got something I got to go do, so we're gonna cut it short right here. Well, we've been a couple hours anyway, but thanks for coming on. Great topic, and let's go out there and make some pennies.
Yeah.
Hey, good seeing
Jeff,
you, Music City Transport. Good seeing you, man. Good seeing you, Stuart.
Hey, Dean, he's got a W-9. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, thanks for rubbing it in.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Later.
I'm burning. See the salt in the wound. I'm gonna cry.
No, I think tonight's conversation was great, man. Thanks for the opportunity.
I'm calling you at 1 a.m, Rich. Stop. Don't be nice now.
Don't even.
Yeah.
Don't even go
ring
there.
Ring them up.
I'll turn the ringer off.
Call him every 10 minutes.
good talk, guys. Thanks for.
Hey, good seeing you, Music City. Hey, Goose.
Sage wants that debate, Dean. Did you see that?